Hello, I'm Randy Horton, Chief Solutions Officer at Orthogonal. We are here in Anaheim at the Convention Center for the MD&M West conference, and we are bringing you MedTech Spotlight live. The concept is you can't make it to every conference, and if you even can get to every conference, you can't talk to every interesting person at the conference. So we're trying to hunt down some of the most interesting people who are doing interesting presentations, who have great ideas, and let them share a little bit of it with you here. So today we have Atty from Analog Devices. Now, introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
Yep. So my name is Attrayee. You can call me Atty if it's too hard to pronounce. I work as a quality systems engineer at a company called Analog Devices. We're a semiconductor company, also in the healthcare field. And I am here to speak at MD&M West. My topic is basically about how do we incorporate design controls when it comes to AI, and how do we integrate that into the medical device lifecycle that we have.
Excellent. Okay, so your talk today was on design controls for AI inside medical devices. And I presume you're talking machine learning, not generative AI.
Yeah, it was basically focused around traditional locked algorithms that we have.
Okay.
Because most of the devices which are cleared or approved by the FDA are locked algorithms. So there's more case studies to be presented in that aspect. So we basically kind of integrated the FDA's approach when it comes to the AI lifecycle to the traditional phase approach that we have for design controls.
Okay.
Currently, there's a lot of guidance or like a lot of regulations talking about all of this, but it's not very clear at which phase of product development would you think about, let's say, AI infrastructure planning, or at which stage you would kind of do your different tests. Maybe you need to understand at which stage you have to evaluate the model, or whether you need to upgrade the model from an alpha to a beta prototype. So things like that are less talked about, especially because change management is another big deal, and that's not really well talked about in this kind of domain at this point. So we thought that we could give more insight on how and when to start planning for AI in a device, when to run tests, what kind of metrics to look for, and even what things that you would need to provide to the FDA when it comes to submitting something. Right now, there's a lot of noise generally about AI, it should be transparent or it should be explainable and things like that. But how do you even define those terms when you start thinking about that concept? So there are many problems when it comes to using AI in a product. First is defining your problem. So having a very specific problem statement that, okay, my model is going to solve this, or it is clinical, it has some clinical association, like it will target a certain clinical condition, things like that. Those questions are not very well talked about. So we incorporated those elements in our talk. So that's one problem statement which I can think of. And the second is, at which stage of product development do you think about more complex questions when it comes to AI? So for example, when you are in phase 0 and you are thinking about planning your product, then you might think about, okay, you might want to think about what kind of infrastructure you might need for your model, or even when it comes to quality, like what kind of metrics would you want to monitor in the future? Those kind of things should be in the beginning half of your life cycle. Mm-hmm. And then as you go forward, you will execute more tests, and you will probably update your model at different points. And that final version will go into your design history file, which will go to the FDA.
Okay.
So it's there are many places of interaction, and we made a graphic to depict how that
like a lifecycle graphic?
Yeah.
So I'm picturing something you could blow up and put on this enormous wall in the convention center next to us.
Exactly. So and we have that as well in our talk.
Is that available too?
Yeah, we can share it.
Right. We will put it on the website.
Yeah. It basically kind of overlays the AI lifecycle with the general medical device lifecycle. So that gives a clearer picture of when to do what, which is kind of the hot topic right now. So
very good. Okay, so that's really interesting. It's good to hear people coming with practical solutions, because it seems like it's still too hard to put AML into medical devices. We need to make it easier to figure this out. Lots of interesting new regulations coming out. The FDA just released new final guidance, new draft guidance.
Yeah.
So What are you waiting for this year in 2025? What else should we be looking for and should we read when it comes out in terms
Mm-hmm.
of guidance, regulations?
Yeah. I think there are like two standards which are like upcoming for like medical device testing and performance evaluation. That's like 63450. IEC 63450 is like the upcoming standard, and 63521 if I'm not wrong. So those are like two upcoming ones, and then there's the new standard for 62304, which is for software development lifecycle, and they are planning to update themselves to like a higher edition to incorporate sections about AI. Um, Another important thing is like not just in the US, but like internationally, many countries are like um, giving like publishing different guidances with respect to that. So even like I was very like surprised to see countries like even like Saudi Arabia talk of like positive predictive value and like what exact numbers they would want to see. So it's not just the US space which is like cool to watch out for. There are so many other countries who are also doing parallel activities. So
Interesting. Have you seen anything in other countries that you think we should be learning from in the US?
yeah, I mean, I think one big thing is how do we define these metrics? Like, that's still like a vague question. Even if you read the FDA guidance, they say that you need to come to a logical conclusion when it comes to kind of finalizing what metrics you want to see. But then maybe if you would have better examples of those, that would be nice. I know the draft guidance talks of like area under the curve and like other kinds of metrics, but if we could have like kind of practical examples where you have this hypothetical device and you have these hypothetical metrics that go along with it, then it would be probably much easier to see like how you can use those in real world cases.
So we need to see more metrics developed and then somebody has to put them in a library that we can see them
yeah,
all.
yeah. I mean, mostly more like for different types of devices, for different types of models, those things change. So it would be interesting to see if that can be worked out.
Very good. So shifting gears, when after you agreed to talk, I did a little Googling and I found a fascinating interview with you when you were talking about different career changes you've been through. So if you're talking to somebody who's interested in getting into QA and RA in MedTech, you actually transitioned into MedTech and you also transitioned from working in India to working here. So
Yeah.
that's two and sort of like in a short period of time. What have you learned? What advice would you give to people looking to shift in countries or
Yeah. Um,
specialties?
so thanks, Randy, for bringing that up. So yes, so I was initially working in research and I was in biotech. I was not in medical device, but I just found that the aspect of software integrated into medical devices like very um, mm, it's much more interesting in my eyes. So that's why I wanted to gravitate more towards the medical device aspect. I worked a little bit with the startup incubators in India where like I kind of helped them develop some market strategy or even like some regulatory strategy because they wanted to commercialize in India as well as in the US. So that's how I kind of realized that I like to talk more to people and teams. And though I was passionate about research, I found my skills more aligned with this kind of work. So
All right. So you moved into translational.
yeah, translational. Yeah,
Very good.
exactly.
Very good. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. One last question we ask everybody. How many times have you been in Anaheim?
This is my second time.
This is the second time.
Yeah.
Have you been to Disneyland?
No.
Okay. Most people haven't, but okay.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.